Hello, family, and welcome to another episode of Role Model Experts Cafe. I'm your host, Dr. L, the Parent Whisperer, and today with me, I have the amazing Miss Barbara Edie. Barbara, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here, and thank you, audience members, for tuning in. And we love having you here. I had an opportunity to speak to Barbara on a couple of our events now, and I really feel that the topic that she covers is an important topic and one that every family member should be aware of. So, Barbara, without further ado, welcome to the show. Thank you for taking the time to be here. Tell us a little bit about what you're going to be talking to us about, and also how you got involved in it, and what in your personal life actually affected you to actually get involved with this. We'll go from there.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Dr. L. Well, what I'm here to talk about is empowering teens through helping them connect to their inner guidance, their heart's intelligence, and their inner guidance system. And how I came to do that is I had my own personal experience with connecting to my own inner knowing and my own inner guidance as an adult, not as a teenager. I think it would be wonderful if we had this this education and knowing at a younger stage in our life. But how I came to do that is I had my own spiritual awakening, really. When I was 25, I sunk into a very deep depression, suicidal thoughts, just very, what I call profoundly sad in my life. And during that time, I did seek care and psychiatric care. And one day I was in really deep pain just around the whole experience. And I actually looked up and asked for guidance, a sign, if there was such a thing as the divine or God, universe, then show me a sign. And I had this amazing transformational healing. I'll call it a divine download. And it was this beautiful, loving energy, light, and connection that just moved right through my entire body. And in that moment, I could feel everything lift. The fear in my life, the stress, even the depression. And so it really was a transformational experience. And after that day, I healed very quickly and completely, and no longer needed specific care and never looked back, really. And what happened in that transformational healing is I knew without a doubt that we are connected to a higher intelligence, a source of energy that is both loving and, in my definition, a higher power that can guide us, especially if we understand how to access it. And so from there, my life changed dramatically, and I just really changed how I lived my life. And I'd always tune in to my heart, into my own inner wisdom before I would make, an important life decision, or do something people thought, oh, wow, that's just crazy. Why would you ever do that? And so it really helped me lead my life from my heart, and it helped me make decisions more easily, and things happen more easily in my life. And in some cases, what people would describe as miracles happened. So that's how I came to do what I do. And one of the examples I'll use in how my life became much more happened with much more ease, is that I actually switched careers from being a pediatric nurse working with children to becoming a writer. And I was able to do that within 1 year of making that decision. And from there, during my writing career, I also was guided to write a book called Creating the Impossible, about using your intuitive guidance to make life follow with much more ease and direction. And I ended up working in Africa with young children and really seeing that these principles could not just apply to adults like myself, but that kids get this too. Kids actually arrive, what I call, we all arrive with our own intuitive knowing, but we're really conditioned or educated out of it, or something traumatic can happen. And it's the education we don't receive in mainstream education, Dr.
Well,
L. So that's why I started really working with children.
I recall I actually was hosting a summit, and we had a panel of about 6 or 7 experts that were there on different matters: health, relationships, finance. And it was really interesting because I actually posed this question as the opening question for the panel, that should spirituality be something that needs to be addressed either by families or our education system? And every single member that was there agreed that it's an important topic, it needs to be addressed, and it needs to be paid attention to. But having said that, of course, I understand that we have audience members that come from different backgrounds, different walks of life. And I wanted to take a minute and define this spirituality, because you mentioned this very eloquently and very subtly, actually, that there is this leading with your heart part. And one of the issues that I see oftentimes in today's world is with institutionalization of people, with kids going through the school system, education system, get a job. Oftentimes, the parents are telling the kids what to do, the schools are telling the kids what to do, the society is telling them what's acceptable. And in the process, you lose that personal voice, that inner voice that guides you into reaching your fulfillment and your happiness, right? And you're kind of leading with up here, what is the more that what is so to me, spirituality is exactly what you described, that leading with your heart, knowing that there is this higher source that we're kind of connected to. And it has the potential to bring fulfillment to children in choosing friends, in choosing a career, being in relationships that might lend to employment, or even partners, lifelong partners, and things like that. So it's a really important topic, not just because of spirituality, as in you would imagine organized religion to be, but the fact that what makes somebody happy by pursuing their heart.
Right, absolutely. I agree 100%, Dr. Allen. Really, for me, it's not really about religion. It is, as you said, it's about spirit, but our own inner spirit, energy, creative spirit. And there is a science part of it as well. And I like to bridge both the science with the spiritual nature of it, because our heart's intelligence is a real thing, like meaning our heart has its own wisdom. Just like our brain has an energetic field, so does our heart. And it also has its own memory, its own cellular memory, neural pathways. So there's a lot about the science of the heart, as well as, the spiritual nature about tuning into our own inner guidance. And that I teach that to kids as well. And that's one of the most fascinating things for them, actually, is they find out our heart is more than just an organ that pumps blood and oxygen through our body, which of course is critical. But it is a very powerful, it's a powerful source of wisdom. And there's this beautiful expression. And this is what I really learned, and what when I connect with kids' hearts, I see them with my heart, meaning I see their energy and see who they are. And there's an expression that the mind thinks, but the heart knows.
Right.
So when you're truly in your heart, it really is guiding you in what's in your highest interest, right? Whereas our mind can tell us stories and often make us fearful or anxious. When you're truly in your heart, energetically, it's a very calm space. When you're in your heart, you really are in the present moment. Mm-hmm. And that also is important, not just for children and teens, but really everyone. Right. If you can get into that heart space and that calm sense of presence, you can make better decisions. You can manage conflict better. You're more confident with, maybe if you're in a challenging situation, and you're open to, as you described, that inner voice or that guidance to drop in when you're in a calm space. If
And
you're in a
actually, what you mentioned is really important, because oftentimes what I find is the challenges that people face, like when they're, and you can correct me on this, usually depression, anxiety,
Mhm.
these are very similar things that when somebody is not in that heart space, they're experiencing those feelings, basically. Those,
Exactly. And that was my own personal experience. As I said, I was not in my heart. I was doing things from, and you alluded to it earlier, that weren't really true for me, meaning I was doing it because, society said that was a good job or the right thing to do, or that would make me a good person if I, had this kind of job or took this kind of action. But they weren't things that they had their place. But later on, I realized they weren't really, they weren't coming from a space of what was aligned with my own truth. It was more what I was following more a should than what I would like to
right,
do.
right,
And
absolutely.
that happens with children all the time. And the other thing I help them with in this Empowered Teens program, being empowered, the power, it does come within. And when that you can follow that guidance and take small actions more
Mhm.
confidently, that does build confidence. It builds courage. And they start to see that, oh, maybe they could do something that they thought, wasn't possible for them. So you build that resilience and that confidence and that direction, by putting what I call putting their passions, their own gifts and interests into action, just one small step at a time. But it's
Speaking of
amazing.
Speaking of actions, Barb,
Mhm.
what are some of the actionable things that you could recommend for our audience members that they could do, like after watching this, and start seeing themselves build confidence or move towards that space where they're following their heart?
Right. Well, one of the things I mentioned was, again, getting into a calm space. And there's a technique, I can just briefly describe it, that brings in, it's called heart coherence. So it makes your heart's energy and rhythm more coherent with that in your mind. And the three easy steps is first, you just focus your attention on your heart. So if you're with a child, you could even get them to put their hand on their heart.
Mm.
Okay. And so that's the first, you focus your attention there. And then you just take 2 deep breaths in and out. You can, hold them for about 5 seconds each. We don't need to do the whole thing now, but, in for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you do that just a few times. And already, me just doing it now, I can feel my nervous system calming. And then
Right.
the last thing is you can bring in a high vibe energy like gratitude or appreciation.
Mm.
And you can just do that. You don't have to tell anybody you can do it. You're doing it either. You can do it just on your own, standing in line at the grocery store, at school, but you just immediately bring your attention to your heart. And parents can do that too before they speak to a child or, have a difficult conversation. Just bring yourself to your heart space. So that's a very easy technique. And in terms of, again, taking actions, it's, well, you know, from that space, what's one action, depending on the problem you're trying to solve, what's one action you could help your child take in that moment? For example, some of the children I work with, they're very much in their minds, right? So they're very
Right.
much, and again, as you said, that's where most of the anxiety occurs, right? So they're always in these troubling
Right.
thoughts, and a lot of it's around uncertainty.
Right.
So how I help them deal with uncertainty is we reframe it as, well, what if we could look at uncertainty, what I call it, embracing the mystery? Meaning, what if you could look at it as an adventure or as a place where something good can happen. It's not
Right.
necessarily something fearful, could be exciting, very different than fearful. So you reframe it, could be going to a new school or going to a party, you don't know anyone. Well, what if you meet someone new? What if you meet your best friend? And so you just start playing with things that are more positive, right?
Right.
That could happen.
Right.
And so then it becomes more fun, quite frankly, and it becomes more an adventure than a fear.
Right.
Mhm.
So actually, what you said makes perfect sense, because when somebody is in that state and they don't have the confidence, they lose the ability to make decisions, to
Mhm.
prioritize, to take action.
Mhm.
So kind of getting them out of that situation, what you're describing really does wonders. I could see that in getting people confident enough to move forward, basically, and
Mhm.
step out of that space and into something where they can now grow and thrive and move forward. So absolutely.
Right.
Very
Right.
cool.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Barb, this is really important information. I know that there's a lot more depth to this, and there's nuances there. I know that
Mhm.
sometimes people have challenges and they're reluctant to let go of the challenges to actually step forward too. So some of
Mhm.
these things get programmed into you without you even knowing it. So how can people find out more about you and what you do or follow you?
Yes, the best way is my website. It's www.barbaraedie.com.
Mhm.
And specifically, there's a link there on the website to the Empowered Teens program. So you can learn more about what I actually teach during the program. And the other way is LinkedIn. That's somewhere that I am quite active. And yeah, so I'd say website, LinkedIn, and my email address. I think you've put in the chat as well.
I'll
That's
do that.
also a good way to reach me
Okay.
and to have a conversation.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Mhm.
I really, really appreciate it. Guys, I will go ahead and put Barb's information in the description box. So take a minute and go through that and check it, click it, join it, and reach out, because reaching out is a very important skill that we need to teach our next generation of how to connect instead of just liking on a Facebook and then not really interacting on a human level with someone else. We have tons of experts sharing their expertise, giving out gifts. So please make sure you hit subscribe and like on the buttons there, and join us and get notified as we have new experts coming in. So don't miss out on the information. Check out Barb's information that is in the description box as well. Barb's, once again, thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom, sharing your heart with us. And any final words before we finish today's interview?
I would say follow your heart. It knows the way. That's always my guidance.
That's
And
great.
one thing I do, there is a free gift on my website. So I've given you the website address, and it's the first chapter of my book.
Ah,
And again, it's all about following your own truth. So when you follow your heart and your intuition, that is generally your true nature. And yeah, it'll guide you.
fantastic. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for that gift as well. All right, guys, we'll see you around. Stay with us. And until next time, cheers.
Thank you very much, Dr. L.